Welcome to the historic Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit for rounds 3 and 4 of the 2018 LMP3 Cup Championship. The season got underway at Donington Park and saw a win for Bradley Smith and Duncan Williams in the Mectech Motorsport run Norma M30 on its UK racing debut. Coming into the Brands Hatch weekend though, it's the number 1 car of 2017 champion Colin Noble and Tony Wells that leads the championship standings by 1 point from the red and white Norma of Smith and Williams. Third is Christian Olsen, who drove very well to take the first win of the year in his Nielsen Racing run Ecurie Ecosse car. Fourth are championship returnees Jason Rishover and Jamie Spence on 24 points, and Bonamy Grimes and Johnny Mowlem and the United Autosport pair of Andrew Bentley and Charlie Hollings tied on 23 points. After a disappointing opening weekend, Jack Butel and Dominic Paul find themselves in 7th on 16 points, but will be hoping for a good showing this time out at Brands. With 9 corners and fantastic elevation changes, the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit is one of the classics. So let's join Tony Wells as he takes us on a high-speed lap.
This is commentary on my qualifying lap from Saturday on the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, which is one of my favourite tracks. We don't get a lot of chances to do this track, so it's quite special. Okay. Going up to paddock, try and leave the braking as late as possible, roll the speed in, pick up the outside curve, a bit short of the curve on that one, braking just before the bridge, roll the car into the corner and then look to get a nice straight exit and then S across down to the left-hander at the bottom. Third gear, don't touch the entrance curb or the exit curb and then braking into Surtees up the hill, looking to roll speed in and then get a good exit because we've got the longest straight coming up as we come down into Hawthorne, just short of 6th gear, stay in 5th and then roll in and try and pick up the throttle as quickly as we can. And then as we approach Westfield, down 1 gear, don't touch too much inside curb because it can bounce you off through Dingle Dell and then up to Sheen. This is a very tricky corner. Probably need to take a bit more curve than I've taken there, but run the exit. And then the left-hander is so inviting at Stirling's. Early in and get a good exit. And then it's all about the last corner. Nice stab on the brakes, down 1 gear, pick up the apex, and then nail the throttle. And that was a flying lap at Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit.
It's great to get an understanding of what the drivers are experiencing out there on track. With only 0.2 of a second separating the top 3 in qualifying, it was incredibly close, but let's hear from the drivers.
I think it was all a last-minute thing. I was struggling at a spin on the second lap out, and not going on the Grand Prix circuit very often. You're having to learn things that you did all those years ago, but you've forgotten. And it took till the last lap to hold it all together for a good lap.
The times were incredibly close, but all the top 3 were certainly swapping places. So you're right. You just nailed it on the last lap there.
Yeah, apparently I was 4th, and they were saying, oh, that the Norm was not quite so quick this weekend. But yeah, fortunately we put it at the top at the end.
Bon, we've just finished qualifying. Tell us how it went for you.
Yeah, it was good. We'd been trying to get the brake bar sorted out on the car, and I think I went in there a little bit too hot into Surtees and just snatched a rear, which caused a spin. So we dialed it forward a little bit. But I think it was a little early in the session for me to be testing out my braking limits. So I'll chalk that one up to experience. But managed to get back on it. It's tough. There's some really good drivers out here. I'm within shouting distance of them, but I knocked a second off my PB around here, so I've got to be happy with that. So yeah, it's good. I'm getting more confident in the car. Some of the faster stuff, you've really got to trust the aero, and I wasn't doing that in practice this morning. I was doing it more this afternoon. So, it's about learning and getting faster and faster.
Yeah, it was a bit of a mystery there. I mean, I went faster earlier in free practice with old tyres, and so I expected to put some new tyres on and go quicker, and car had a bit of understeer and just couldn't bring the front end. It was I have no explanation. I should have been low 22s. That's what I was expecting. So we're a bit mystified by that one. I think we need to think about the car setup and do something different. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm over a second slower than I was here last year with the Pirellis on. So, you'd expect the Michelins to be quicker. So apparently not.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty tough race. With the pit stop not being in the middle of the race, it made it quite hard for the guys who had the AMs or the bronzes starting. So, really had to push hard in my stint. But the car was really good, and Mectech and Norma have put together a great package. So, I think we got the best out of it that we could have done.
Unfortunately, you had a drive-through, but which you had to serve just at the end of the race. What was the reason behind that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've heard that we was 800ths too quick, so it's a shame. But it's good. The team's pushing the boundaries, and we'll learn from it and come back stronger.
Good. It was a great race. It's like they say, you only need 2 cars for a race, and we were battling all the way. It was lovely. Johnny and Colin, and then me and Tony, and there was never really much more than the second between the cars most of the race. So great fun.
Johnny, you started. Tell us how it was for you.
Yeah, good. Tried to go around the outside of everyone again, like I did at Donington. Didn't quite work this time. Colin scuppered that idea, so tucked in behind Colin. But I have to say the Nielsen racing team did a fantastic job. Like Bond just said, the number 1 and the number 2 car were number 1 and number 2 the entire race, and never more than about a second apart. So really good, and I'm so impressed with Bond's driving yet again. I mean, to come in and be competitive against someone like Tony, who's living in these cars, is sort of only his 4th or 5th time in the car on a track he doesn't know that well, is really impressive. And fortunate that the Norma got a pit stop infringement, otherwise Bond and Tony were scrapping so hard he would have definitely been there at the end. But second place to go with our 3rd place at Donington, brilliant.
Bon, high praise indeed, but by the smile on your face, you've enjoyed every minute.
Oh, absolutely, every second of that was so much fun. To kind of see Tony in front of me and then to be able to chase him down, and it's been a great weekend, and the team have been fantastic, as Johnny said, so great day.
Congratulations, boys.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's another victory. Tell us the story.
Yeah, good start. Got into the lead and I built the gap quite early on, and I was feeling quite comfortable at one stage until I went off through the back and put myself under pressure, and then I had to start trying to rebuild the gap slightly. But Johnny was very fast and didn't really let me get away, so I was under pressure for all my stint. And Tony did a great job to bring it home. He was in a bit of a battle at the end to try and keep the lead.
Tony, you certainly were. It was incredibly close. Tell us how it was from your point of view.
Yeah, well, I came out in the lead and could see Bon catching, and he never let me get into any sort of rhythm. So, and he was really quick through the back section. So, he just had it hooked up, and I couldn't get away. And I gapped him a bit, and for the last lap I started to relax a bit, and then he must have put the fastest lap he'd done in the race. So. Maybe I relaxed a bit too much, and then anyway, I crossed the line all right. But we were in a bit of a battle there.
Amazing to see that after an hour of racing, the winning margin was less than half a second. Join us for more after the break. Welcome back to Brands Hatch. It's easy to focus all of our attentions on the drivers who pilot the magnificent LMP3 cars, but motorsport would not be able to work without an army of unsung heroes. That's why we joined the team in race control during free practice to see how things work behind the scenes.
Green flag, green flag.
You're in race control at the moment. This is the nerve centre of the race meeting for the weekend. I can just run through one or two bits that helps us get through the race weekend in a safe manner. If you look towards the front screen, we've got all the bank of cameras. That's each turn number. So we can instantly do a snapshot if we have an incident, and we can put a camera onto the car, decide what medical or if we need any recovery, so we can ascertain what we need out there, if we need a safety car or if we need a snatch vehicle. If you look to my right hand side, that's the communications. That's the ladies are in touch with the marshal's post, so all the calls come directly through the ladies at the end from the marshals out on the corners. We can then again decide what we need to do or if we need to act. The first call will come from the ladies and say there's an incident at turn 7, so we'll probably turn the camera around onto turn 7 to ascertain from here exactly what it's looking like. We'll then decide whether we need a race stop, whether we need to a safety car, or whether we need to go full course yellow or something like that. We can then manage the incident from here. It's very unusual to have a major incident, but when it does happen, we will go into a fixed procedure to make sure that we deal with it in the best possible way. Safety is paramount within motorsport, not only for the competitors but for the safety and the marshals out there. So we take it very, very seriously.
It's fascinating to get a good understanding of the challenges the race officials have to deal with, none more so than the crash Dominic Paul sustained in the second qualifying session. We caught up with him to find out what happened.
We did a lot of car setup changes overnight, and which I think I said earlier, and the car felt fantastic, so it was beautiful. So I think we were on my second flying lap. The Norma spun in front of me, and then I was on the third lap, and I think we were 6/10 up, and I went through Sterling's, the last left-hander, and on the exit I just went over the curb, hit the grass, and the car kind of snapped away. So it's positive in everything, and the positive is the car setup felt fantastic, and I think we had a really good time at 22 in the car, and I think we were probably on for 22 on that lap until I went off. So that's a bit frustrating. It was a heavy accident, so I don't think we're going to be out later.
It's a shame Dominic will not be able to take part in the race, but let's hear from our other drivers.
We got cold tyres again, so we got to go out and be quick on cold tyres. And it was literally a case of feeling around the first lap. and the tyres still weren't up to temperature when I came through Surtees on the flying lap that I got pole, because I was slower in the first section than on previous laps. So, you know, it's a bit of luck in qualifying with these cars, with the bronze drivers. I think it's give and take and nip and tuck.
I know Tony was disappointed not to take pole, but you did it by 0.08 of a second. So, you know, any gap is a good gap, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, that's racing. I've lost races by, you know, less than 0.1 of a second previously, and lost poles by less than 0.1. It happens, and you know, it's one of those things.
Yeah, well, that's a bit frustrating, isn't it? So we changed the car overnight. Car was amazing. Got out first. Was provisional pole. I was already 3/10 up on the first sector of the lap that was then red flagged. So I think the car would have done maybe a 22 dead in it, or me and the car. And the red flag came out. So then when it restarted, then they took 45 seconds off the clock for some reason and restarted it with 3 minutes, and because I came out third, I missed the second flying lap. First lap, I didn't have any front tyre temperature, but I could see that the time was still pretty good. It was only a few tenths off what my provisional pole was, and obviously the other guys got the lap and nicked it by some thousandths or something. But it was frustrating because the car was good and I was on it, and you know, I was up for pole today.
Yeah, it wasn't the best of qualifying times. I mean, yesterday I went out too quick and had a spin when the tyres went up to temperature, so I went out to build up that temperature more slowly this time. And unfortunately, on my first flying lap, we had a yellow when the Norma had spun off. And then the second flying lap, we had the red. So then I had to do it all on the last 2 laps, and it was a bit sketchy. I was well up, I was 7/10 up going into the last 2 corners, but I just lost it going through the second to last, where Dominic had his accident, unfortunately, but I just managed to catch it, and that cost me the time. So yeah, it's one of those sessions really.
Yeah, I sort of ran out of talent and luck over the bumpy part of the circuit, and incredibly lucky to find myself pointing downhill in the right direction, so we got going again. Yeah, it's a corner, but it's been difficult all weekend, and I thought I got it nailed, and obviously I hadn't.
Yeah, I mean, we had a slight bit of front damage on the car, so it was a little bit tricky through some of the high-speed corners. But you know, the team have done a fantastic job. So big thanks to Mectech, Ecosse, and Norma. Another decent weekend. The battle's going to go all year, isn't it? So yeah, we'll just have to keep pushing for good results.
Obviously Bond did a good job at the start. He was in third place, and then it became second when Duncan and the Norma had an unfortunate off. I was actually just in the toilet getting ready to get in the car, so I didn't see what happened, but put the Norma behind us. Otherwise, I think the Norma would have been in a real shout for the win. And then I realised that Tony had a 10-second penalty for, I think it was jumping the start, so I knew I had to try and keep that gap to Colin, which was about 10 seconds when we all panned out, but I just didn't have the pace today with the car to keep that gap, so he stretched it, and I realised pretty early on I wasn't going to be able to keep it at 10 seconds, so at that point I just settled into my rhythm and looked after the car, and it wasn't quite as nice today as it was yesterday, but it's always fun to race anything around the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit.
I thought I got a great start. I reacted to the lights, but so I typically have a good start when I'm on the front row, but apparently a little bit too good. So obviously I was pleased to get into turn one ahead, and then made a bit of a gap, and then just I was pulling a gap, and then suddenly the Norma wasn't behind me. So I had a bit of a scrappy lap there because I was looking in the mirrors a bit too much. But anyway, I just kept my head down, and it's difficult to run a pace when you can't see anybody, but the car was much better today than it was yesterday. We made some changes overnight, so that was positive, and handed over to Colin. Colin steadily pulled away, and we won.
So Colin, well, pick up the story from the second half.
Yeah, Tony had I thought had a very good start, but it turns out it's maybe slight jump, so 10-second penalty. So yeah, it gave me a little bit of a challenge second race to open up the gap, but yeah, we opened it up quite comfortably at the start. I think, to be fair, we had a bit of a better package than Johnny today. Just with the setup, we did some setup changes last night. And, yeah, they seemed to help the car a lot today. Tony had a good qualifying, very unlucky to miss pole. So overall, yeah, very good weekend.
Congratulations to Tony Wells and Colin Noble on taking the double win at Brands Hatch and extending their lead in the championship to 21 points over Bradley Smith and Duncan Williams. They leave Brands with a brace of third place finishes. 6 points behind them in third is the Red River Sport car of Bonamy Grimes and Johnny Mowlem, who came within a hair's breadth of winning race one. Fourth is Christian Olsen with the Speedworks car of Jack Butel and Dominic Paul in fifth. They will be disappointed not to have taken part in the second race, but will be looking to bounce back next time. In sixth place is the IAG racing entry of Jason Rishover and Jamie Spence, who lead Charlie Hollings and Andrew Bentley in their United Autosports car. That's it for our visit to Brands Hatch, but join us next time as we head to one of the circuits that's a focal point for every driver, Spa-Francorchamps. Join us next time to see how they got on.